Welcome everybody to our beginner training for July. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm glad you came to our training today. I know it's summer and it's harder to get into these things in the summertime. Maggie is here today and she'll be helping me field the questions. So start typing your questions and I'm going to go ahead and open up the SHS program here. Hopefully everybody can see it. I'm going to move my Zoom bar out of the way as much as I can. Maggie will let me know if there are any questions. Any questions, Maggie?
Michael is asking, what are the new additions to the new version?
Well, that's good that you asked. We do have on our website a release notes. If you go to synergyhomeopathic.com and go to the support tab, then you can go to SHS and see what the release notes are. And I'm actually going to touch on one of those updates right now. That was what I wanted to plan. I had talked about that the last time I was here and for last month's training. And I said, I'm going to look into it. I want to show you all what this one feature is about that we've added to the Repertory Module. So you can see I'm here in the Repertory Module and that you have to go into a chapter to see this feature because you're filtering in specific chapters. So let's get into a chapter. I'm going to start by going into the kidney chapter because that's just what I have at the top of my list here. And I'm on the complete repertory. I could be on, choose any of these repertories. Let's say I also want the reliable to be in my right pane, so I can go back and forth between the two of them. What I did was I hovered my mouse on the reliable's name, right click to get that message, and I clicked that message to get the reliable over here. And I can go back and forth between them now. And so I'm going to go into the reliable's kidney chapter, and it's right here. You can either click on a photo icon or you can open up the book over here and find it this way, whichever is easier to you. I sometimes find it easier to come over here to the list actually than try to find the picture, but whatever your preference is. Okay, and this is what we're talking about. Now, the type to search window has been here for a while, ever since 1.3 came out, the 1.3 series of SHS. But now one of the new additions is this little filter within the type to search window. And I'm going to show you how that can be useful. So we're in the kidney chapter. Why did I choose that? Well, there's the diagnosis of albuminuria, which it's an indication that there's some kidney damage. And if you want to, not bother having to type that whole thing, you can just type ALB here and choose that you want to match a word that begins with ALB. Apply that and you hit the little search icon once you've applied the filter. And now you see how beautifully all those instances of albuminuria but also albuminous nephritis. I mean, it's a good way to search for terms, when they're long and you maybe don't know how to spell them, or there are varieties of the terms that you are glad to be able to see as well. And we'll do another one. Let's X out of this. And I'm actually going to go to a different chapter. Let's go to the male chapter. And so, for instance, if you're worried about in the male chapter here, gonorrhea, that's not an easy word to spell. It's, so you can just put GON in there, get it, begins with GON. Okay. And you hit the search, and now you're looking at all the instances of gonorrhea in the male chapter. So that's very helpful. It just brings it very quickly up to the front. When you're looking for a word that's long or you're not sure how to spell it, you can just quickly get to it. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to jump into the eye chapter for this next demonstration. So for instance, over here in eyes, And what if we wanted to research all the ways, all those terms of inflammation for the eyes? And, they all end in itis, right? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to type itis, and I want to find itis anywhere. I certainly don't want to find anything with beginning with that. I wouldn't find anything. I want to find it anywhere in a word. And so I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit the little search icon. And now I'm looking at all the various kinds of inflammation, eyes, the blepharitis, rheumatic iris, keratitis. It was a way to find that inflammatory language for the eyes. Another example to use where you're just trying to find a little bit of a word. Sometimes words are spelled differently depending on where you are in the world. One of the examples of that is esophagus. So if I'm in the reliable here and I go into the internal throat and I'm looking for esophagus, see what happens if I type this and I'm looking for it at the beginning of the word. Let's see what happens. And you can see not very much comes up. And that's because I'll just go ahead and tell you in the reliable, only these two instances. I'm not even sure how 2 instances slipped in, but every other instance of esophagus in the reliable repertory is spelled O-E-S-O. And so what you could do is you could pick some part of the middle of that word that would be in both varieties of spellings. So for instance, I'm going to X out of here. And if I type in PHA for, esophagus, I'm going to get a lot of pharyngeal. I know that from being in the throat. So I'm actually just going to type in GUS, and we want to find it anywhere. And we're going to put that in. Now you can see you're finding all those instances of esophagus where it's spelled that way. So, you have to think in your mind if maybe there's an alternative spelling to a word, and think about how you could find it if you're not finding it. Now, if I were to go to the complete repertory, the complete is actually the opposite. So if we go to the throat chapter here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put in that little bit of the word, and we're going to find it anywhere. Okay. And you can see that in the complete, it is spelled ESO. And you won't, I don't think you'll find any O-E-S-O. You could go look for it, but I'm pretty sure it's all ESO. This is the spelling that I'm used to. I think O-E-S-O, European, I believe, Maggie? Or maybe it's old Homeo speak, I'm not sure.
I think it's old, yeah.
Okay, it's the old way that comes from the old masters. And so that's very useful to have. It's a useful tool to have where you can find a piece of a word in the back of it that you're not finding. Or, if for instance, that itis thing, the inflammation. And then there's another thing that I want to show you, which is the whole word. So let's go to the mind chapter. Because I have the whole word ticked. You see, I have whole word down here, so only abuse comes up. If you have a filter, I'm glad and you're just, you're sort of on the default is always this, unless you've changed it. And so if you're in here with this and you haven't changed it, 2 different ideas here. You've got abuse and you've got abuse, which is the opposite. And so if you wanted to hone in on one, that's would come over here and you would use the whole word and hit OK and hit this. And now only get that one word and you won't have the opposite word show up. Maggie, are there any questions about this?
No, not about this, no.
Okay, any other questions otherwise?
Magda's asking, if I want to add a remedy to my repertorization, which came up in the reference library, how can I do that?
Oh, sure. All right. And so what I'll do is I'm going to I'll just make up a rubric here. Let's say we have fear of heights. And so the result comes here in Repertory tab first. You can certainly put that on your clipboard. But then if you want to add your reference library query search to it, you can come over here to the reference library tab and you click on this little icon over here on the right. It's got a little plus sign and there you have it. And it shows up on your clipboard like this. Oh, let me open up. I've toggled away from the clipboard side of things. I was playing around with my clipboards earlier. It shows up RL-S on your clipboard whenever you add a reference library search. Now, if you're over in the Repertory tab, you'll see that you also have this clipboard on the rubric side. But you can see that it says here, it warns you, if you click the clipboard when you're in Repertory tab, you're going to have all 6 rubrics going onto your clipboard, and you may not want that. Over here in Reference Library, you have no choice. You have to take all of this that they give you, 88 remedies, onto your clipboard. But over here in Repertory tab, you have a choice of which rubrics you actually want to take. And so that's just something to keep in mind. You normally wouldn't want to take all 6 rubrics because there's a lot of differentiation between them that might not be pertinent to your case. Any other questions?
Michael is asking, how do you go into a specific book from the reference results?
Oh, okay. So let's go back over here to the reference tab. Each one of these lines represents a reference. Your references are listed over here in the left pane where you have remedy and book. And so let's say that you are scrolling along and you want to read more. First, I want to tell you that if you were to do a single click on a line, it does give you a blurb. It gives you a little information about that piece that you were searching. But if you wanted to go into the whole line, that's when you would double click the line. And so let's double click. And what that does is it takes you to, now you can see we are in reference library. Any other questions?
Magda is saying, in terms of putting a remedy from reference library into her clipboard, she's asking if she can just select one remedy to come across.
You know, I saw that you can do that recently. So let's say you want just RM here. You see how this little tick mark is, and first let me get it off the clipboard because I'm going to delete this and come back over here. And we're going to filter for RM. Oh, all the RMs came up. So if you do RM plus and then filter again, then you get only those. I didn't mean plus, or RM period. Then you get that one. And then if you come over here and click here, you see it's just the one remedy that came over. And there's another way you can do that. If you are over here in global search and you know, if you want to filter for certain remedies, you can only do that beginning with global search filter over here. That might not be exactly what you're asking. So I just want to continue with that.
But it's actually going to achieve the same result, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would. So if I were to go to remedy and find RM and select that. And I'm actually in repertories right now, but I want to be in reference library. So I'm switching over remedy, RM, and I'm going to search. I'm going to run it in a new window. So I hit the plus sign instead of the search. And of course, it comes in repertories first, and there's no filter because I reference library. And so I pop over here and it's the thing. But you may not know the remedy ahead of time. You know, you may just be searching, and then you get your result and get all the remedies, and then you decide from the many remedies that you get which one you want to go to a clipboard. So it works both ways, but I guess it depends on how you're coming at it.
Micah says, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions, Maggie?
Carl is asking about printing and how to print off your graph.
Okay.
And I was, go ahead.
Okay, so there's several ways. You know, you can also make your graph bigger because what you print is what you see on the screen, is what comes out. So, you know, you make your graph as big as you want it to be. And then you download the graph image, and then you can take that PDF and just attach it to a, you know, a document, or you can print it. And so when you hit, and I'm just going to look, so you can make it a PDF or a JPEG, either one. Let's say we want to make it a PDF, and we're going to download that. And you see this comes up. It's going to come up as a PDF, and you just hit print. And
now, what Carl is saying is that it's not printing off all the boxes visible on the screen.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Well, we'll make a note of that. I honestly do not. It's so hard for me to answer printing questions in detail because I actually don't own a printer. Maggie, have you ever tried to print a graph and had that experience of not having them all print?
I suspect you probably see this on opening up the PDF anyhow.
Yeah, we could certainly do that.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have to look into that, Carl.
Yeah, and so I'm going to do save as a PDF. I want to save as a PDF. That's fine. I'll go to my desktop. And then I'm going to find it on my desktop. And we'll see what it looks like. And you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not all printing out. So it seems like it has a limitation for that paper size. Now I'm wondering if we adjust paper size, you know, which you can do, if that would help. Let me get back into SHS and do this again. Show details. You see here where it says US letter and 8.5 by 11. And so, you know, I'm thinking you could change size and play around with that. And then you would get, you know, something that would be better for you. Envelope, you know, an envelope is long like this. I don't know, play around with this a lot. So that's something that, you know, I'll look into. My pen dropped on the floor. Let me grab it so I can make a note. And the other thing you can do, you know, is take a screenshot. On a Mac, I don't know what it is, but I know on a Mac, a screenshot is Command-Shift-4. And so if you hit Command-Shift-4, then you have this little cursor that you can work with to take, you know, to take an entire picture. And then you can attach that to a document and print it. I hope that's somewhat helpful.
Okay, thanks, Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Betsy's saying to put it on landscape.
Oh, with that, oh yeah, okay. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
You
Sorry,
can.
I have a question here.
Oh, sure.
In search, what's the difference between the whole word and with related word?
But here in the mind chapter of the liable, I'm going to put in dream. houses. And now what I'm getting is every rubric that has either the word dream or the word house. You see, you've got all these dreams, house. Wow. And I'm going to come up here. Okay, see, it already did it. I didn't get it out of the whole word. So basically that filter was still on. And so what I got was dreams and houses together. Let's take that off. Let's go to the default, which is match any word. Okay, and so then if you have this in, I'm going to hit this search. This is the default. So I haven't put the filter on, and you can see now I'm getting rubrics with dreams as well as rubrics with houses, and I'm sure I'm getting them together as well. But what I want is I want to focus on those rubrics with the two words together. So that's when I'm going to come in here and do the whole word with the related word and hit OK. And now you have to hit the search sign, the little search bar. And now what I'm seeing is the rubrics with dreams and houses together. Is that clear?
Yeah, I think so. Michael, if you have any more questions on that, will you just let us know?
Okay, perfect.
He says, great, thank you.
Sure. Are there any more questions right now, Maggie?
No.
Okay. So what I thought I would do is just show you how flexible the clipboards could be. And I thought, with a case, you can open more than one clipboard, certainly. Some people like to maybe put the mentals on one clipboard, physicals on another, generals on another. And so I'm just going to show you how easy it is to do that. Right, I'm just going to go ahead and delete the clipboard I have right now by hitting right-clicking on it. That's a control click if you own a Mac, and just hit delete. I do want to delete that one. And so let's go look in the QREP. Let's go look in the QREP for some mental symptoms. Let's say that the person before you, you've taken the case and you've determined there, maybe 3 themes going on. Maybe one of them is the big ego. And so you can see that all these rubrics have 0 count remedies. So you always have to go into these QREP rubrics that you see at the beginning. And I'm going to go into that one by hitting the right arrow. And well, what does this mean? If you were to right click on view rubric info, that gives you the QREP information about these. What does it mean, big ego primary remedies? Let's go view the rubric info. You see it in this rubric information window that pops up. And so then you can know how to choose between primary and the other, the more minor. Primary remedies have big ego as a major issue, even if they are minor remedies. Please use this rubric only in cases where relation to big ego is very intense or pronounced, or is an essential feature of your understanding of the case. And so to go back here then, if it's not very intense, that's when you go to the big ego quality, the one below that. And so I'm going to hit return. We're going to open up a mental clipboard. Then I'm going to go back to my big list there. And let's say that money was another issue with this person. And maybe this is the primary issue, the very intense issue. So then you would take that primary remedies to the clipboard. And then let's go back to the list. And so maybe fearing of disease, a fear of disease was another one on some sort of less intense level. All right. So I've got 3 themes that I felt like were the critical themes as far as the mentals go. And you can name this clipboard. I'm going to, again, you probably saw where it said rename. Control click. I'm going to rename this clipboard the mentals. Okay. Now I'm going to go into the complete 23 and find some physicals that came along with the case. And so the first one is heart palpitations. So I'm going to come down there to heart and circulation. And of course I could use global search, but I do that a lot in my training. So I'm sort of sticking with the repertory today. So I'm just going to type PALP, heart palpitation, and maybe it's in the morning. So I want to go into those sub rubrics, which I know are there because there's a plus sign. I'm going to hit the right arrow and I'm going to find that morning rubric. Now, I don't want this to go on my mental clipboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, hold, and drag this one to that clipboard manager that sits right above the clipboards. And when I dragged that rubric over there to that manager of clipboards, it opened up a new clipboard and my rubric is on there about palpitations.
In this short video, you'll
learn. Okay, and then the next symptom was some stomach reflux. So I'm going to go to the stomach chapter and I'm going to type in the word reflux. Okay. Okay, now this is a good example to show you the cross references. This is a rubric that has no sub rubrics and it has no remedies. So what I want to do is come over here and get my suggestions. I'm going to turn on cross references for this chapter only. Whenever you change the view within a chapter, it's a temporary change in that chapter only. So I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see you're given the suggestions: stomach eructations, water brash, or heartburn. Let's go to that first one first. There it is. And I'm just going to hit enter on my keyboard to take that to the clipboard that I have going for the physicals. Now I want to also go look at the heartburn one, but it won't be in eructations. I want to go back to the stomach. You see, so I'm coming up here to the line at the top and I'm going to click stomach to get back to that and get out of eructations. And I'm going to hit heartburn. I hit HEA basically. Here's heartburn. And then, you know, maybe it's heartburn after eating. So let's go look for that. Eating, and I'm going to go into the sub rubrics of eating. By the way, you can hit the right arrow or double click to get it up to the breadcrumb string, as they call it. And we're going to say after eating and take that to the clipboard. And you can see that my sub rubrics are still turned on. You can see that my cross references are still turned on. And that's because I'm still in the stomach chapter. And as long as I remain in the stomach chapter, that cross reference will always be on view since I had turned it on. But now that I'm going to go to another chapter, I'm going to go over to the skin chapter and you'll see that the cross references are gone. So we're going to go to skin and we're going to find warts. So I'm going to type WAR and there's warts right here. And I'm going to take that to the clipboard. All right. And so now I'm going to right click on the clipboard and I'm going to rename this the physicals. And you can name it whatever you want. You know, you could put your patient initials first. You can, of course, name clipboards in whichever way you want to name them. All right. And so now we'll go down to the reliable repertory just for fun to do the generals. I'm going to hit the generals symbol here. And let's say that waking is typically a very bad time of day on waking. And again, I want this to go on a generals clipboard. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag it to the clipboard manager. Now you can see my new third clipboard open and it's got that rubric on it. Okay, I'm going to click back into the chapter so that I can go to the next rubric, because I had click, held, and dragged over to the left icon palette there on the left. And so the mouse was looking over there. So in order to get back to navigation of this chapter, the generalities chapter, I clicked back into it with my mouse. And now I'm going to go look for heat. Becoming heated is aggravating. We're going to go into that and choose aggravated by that. And I can now just hit return because that is the active clipboard. Clipboard number 3 is active. It's got the aqua circle. And I had another general and I can't remember what it was and I didn't write it down. We'll just say it's, oh, I remember now. We'll say craving alcohol, desiring alcohol. So I'm going to type FOO to go to food and drinks within, actually, no, I can't do it until I'm back into generalities. See, I'm in heat. So I need to get myself back to generalities. Now I'm going to type FOO on my keyboard to get to food and drinks. Going to go into those with the right arrow. I want to go down to alcoholic liqueurs. Well, I don't want that. He's desiring alcohol in general. So I'm just going to hit the right arrow. And here we have desires. And I'm going to put that on my clipboard and I'm going to name this clipboard generals. Okay. And then you can, now my monitor is somewhat small. So I was playing around with the clipboards and I did get them all three to show up at once, but I had to sort of finagle a little bit. So I had to kind of resize up to get them to show up all together. And I'm going to just bring this one in a little bit more so that I can at least see the top 10 on each one. The mentals we'll put down here. You just click, hold, and drag that colorful bar. Okay. And so now, I can more or less see, again, I've got a small monitor, but I can more or less see the top 10 for each of those three clipboards to just kind of look and see what's coming up. And does anyone have any questions? Maggie, I thought I heard you.
No.
Okay. But the other thing I can do is I can merge all of them. Once I've kind of studied them separately, come up to the clipboard manager. You can either double click it or right click it. I'll double click it. I'm going to select them and I'm going to merge these clipboards. And then another clipboard comes to the bottom and it's got all, you can see it's got merged mentals, physicals, and generals. And you can see them all together then once you're done looking at them separately. Any questions on that? Any comments? Any questions on anything?
Not on that, but
Okay.
Helene was asking, could you explain again what the proximity language on the search does? So the
Sure.
SEM,
Absolutely.
REM, etc.
Okay. Proximity language is good when you're searching your materia medica. If you use proximity language when you're looking for rubrics in repertories, it won't make any difference. It'll either knock you out of finding rubrics or it won't make any difference. So really, you only use the proximity language when you're trying to search your materia medica. So for an example, let's run Fear Heights again. And come over to reference library. In fact, we can turn off repertory module. If you're only wanting to search your references, you can turn off the repertories. And right now we have 88 remedies coming up, but that's, I think, because we put fear and heights right next to each other. You can see that they're next to each other. If we spread those words out with a number, let's say we say fear within 3 words of heights, then we run this search. You can see that your number of remedies almost doubled here. It's 191 versus the 88 that we had before. It's more than double. And so that's because we told the program you can find fear and heights with 1, 2, or 3 words between those 2 words. And so of course that gave the program more leeway. Wasn't as strict. So that's how you use the numbers. And you can go up to, let's find that proximity icon. 3, 4, 5. If you're not remembering that you can just hit the number on your keyboard, you can come over here and use this drop-down chart. And you can go higher than 5, but after a certain point, you may not want to go much higher because it might not be as a pertinent a result. But then you also have or up here. So that's a great way to use synonyms. Let's say if you wanted to use a synonym for heights, which I'm drawing a blank on. Let me just do it a different way. Fear, I can't think of another word for heights. Fear or anxiety. See, that's like a synonym within 3 words of heights. And so what that will do, and I've used that / on my keyboard, which is this very same as saying or. You can come over here and click or you can use the / on your keyboard. So what this would do is look for both of those words, either or, fear or anxiety, within 3 words of height. So when you run that one, now you can see the word anxiety has brought up additional choices. So you have heights anxiety here on the 3rd line. So, you know, it just gave you, it's a good idea to use synonyms. All right, and let's see what else was over here in proximity language next to. That's just one space. Then you have the 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Now these down here, you have in the same sentence, paragraph, and section. Those are also going to really spread out your search and give you more remedies. So let's say if we said, I want fear, anxiety within the same paragraph as heights. Let's see if we get more than 190, because it's spreading it out even more. Yeah, you get 270 result now. So it just spreads it out. The last one is a little bit different, this in the same remedy as. This is a nice one to use. I enjoy using this one because, you know, it allows you to look for multiple symptoms at one time. Let's say you have fear or anxiety within 3 words of heights in the same remedy as desire within 3 words of sugar. All right, and so I'm going to run this search, and the result you get from here is every remedy that has both of those symptoms. And so we have 27 remedies that come up that have fear of heights and desires sugar. So I love that. I think that's my favorite proximity. Well, the numbers are very useful too, but I really like that one. Any questions on the proximity?
Yeah, Lucy, to extend the search, Andreas is asking, how would you filter for remedies in your example when searching, like for fear of heights? So if you're searching for fear of heights,
yeah.
you filter for remedy, family.
So you would come over to, and again, we're in reference library. We've turned off rubrics, so make sure you've got reference library chosen. And you would just come down here to remedies, and you know, find your remedies here, type them in. And I'm cheating a little bit. I see that, you know, argentum, of course, comes up. We knew that, but I wonder what else is there. But, you know, you just choose whatever remedies you do want to filter for. And then, you know, I can run through it if you want me to.
Can you show Lucy the remedy family, like say Solanaceae or something?
Oh, yeah, sure. And so you can come over here instead to kingdom. And let's say you are thinking Solanaceae. You can come here and select it. And there's so many to choose. I usually choose that top one, but you know, APG versus Cronquist, dog, and so you can choose whichever one you want. Let's say that you're wondering if it's between Solanaceae and Piperaceae. You can put 2 in, 3 in. You can put as many as you want in, and you choose them. Once you've chosen them, you hit apply, and then you run the search. And let's see if any of those 27 remedies were in those kingdoms. No, they weren't. That's why it gave me a 0 for that. but that's how you do it. You know, I'm sure you get a result if you
just did fear of heights.
if it was a different query up here. Let's say just the fear of heights. Let's go do it again.
Kingdom.
We're going to kingdom, and we're going to go to Solon ACA, and we'll select them all. No, I can't. It's not letting me select them all. You have to choose a type, and then Piper. All right, and now I'm applying this, and now I'm going to run that. Let's see what remedies come up with just this one symptom in those kingdoms, and just 3, hyosciomas and stramonium and the other one. And you can roll your mouse over the name, and it should show up. Are you seeing it? I've got the Zoom bar in my way, so I can't see.
No, that's fine, Lucy. We can see it. Andreas,
Okay,
he's got it. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any more questions? We've got a few more minutes. If anyone has any last questions.
Not right now.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and end. I want to apologize for the bad internet today. I hope it wasn't too distracting and annoying. What I'll do is I'll try to edit some of that out before I put it up on YouTube because otherwise no one would ever want to watch that video. So thank you all very much for coming. All right. Thanks. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy. Bye-bye.
Okay.